simanyi nga nabiraba. Jangu wano. It is not proper to use it.
The media is okay, we can use it.
It's okay. Basabo ne banyabo nsaba munsonyiwe okubanga yimiridde nze naninganga atasobola naye kiva kuba nti natemulwa natemulwa ate ebiseera ebimu obulumi buno buba bw'amaanyi nnyo, especially when there is coldness or hotness. I want first of all to take this opportunity to thank the Secretary General for organizing this press conference and allowing me for the first time to address the press from the NUP headquarters. We are so grateful for the people who over 3 years worked towards bringing Ugandans together for change. And I'm here to do one little thing. It is a very little thing, but a very important assignment. It must be recalled and appreciated that Ugandans, and I'm talking about the rightful members of society, all of us, led by the principals in different change political organizations, have an obligation to save, to liberate Mr. Yoweri Muhabura Museveni from the people who are holding him captive. Unfortunately, Mr. Museveni's first son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, I've been making a research to get his Christian name. Maybe you, ladies and gentlemen from the press, know it and will be able to give it to me. What I'm trying to say is that Mr. Museveni's family, especially his son, wife, are part of the group that is holding Mr. Museveni a captive and imposing him on Ugandans just because they don't want to end the opportunity they have to take over the resources of this country. I'm talking about the generals, the General Muhoozi ×2, General Tumwine, all of them generals, you know them. Those people are part of the group which is holding Museveni captive. I'm talking about political entrepreneurs who serve the mafia groups, running agencies on their behalf. People like Kalangwa in Bugelele. And many others, most of you know by names. I'm talking about people, mafias, who would have been in Luzira by now, but they're out of prison just because they continue to impose Mr. Museveni on us Ugandans. I want to tell fellow activists that it is our law, it is our duty and obligation to disempower this group of people who are holding Museveni captive, liberate Museveni and retire him, and take over our country. Our country will need transition from a dictatorship to a democracy. Some of these people will be jailed, but most of them will benefit from our kind opportunity to take Ugandans through reconciliation and healing. Mujja kunsonyiwera nnyo. Mujja kunsonyiwera nnyo. Of particular interest, I want to refer to a tweet on a social media account in the names of Mr. Kainerugaba Muhoozi, warning, promising havoc, intimidating, and threatening the NUP principal, Honorable Ssentamu, also the people's presidential candidate, that he's promising him, threatening him, intimidating him, that he was claiming to have capacity to crush Bobi Wine and maybe all of us. First of all, when I saw those tweets, I gave Muhoozi a benefit of doubt. You see, he has grown up surrounded by plenty. He has been taken to the best schools in the world. He's an LODU who got decorated with medals and honor. We know him. He was recruited as an LODU in Entebbe. Sometime back, the LODUs were abolished. I don't know where he kept himself during that period. We have heard also. You see, this General Muhoozi is such a very unlucky boy. You can't imagine having your father pressing you to guard him. In essence, having a father who says that if you want to hurt me, you will first hurt my son. That's not kind of any parent. So he was Museveni'S bodyguard, and we don't know under what those offices. We also hear rumors, and we don't want to believe them, that one of his problems might be drunkenness. But we don't want to believe that. We also understand that a general of Muhoozi's caliber is now the advisor to another general called Mr. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. What an absurdity. It is quite very absurd. If any one of us is placed under responsibility to advise your parent, and you are not advising your father to run your family, but you are advising him to run the country. Mr. Muhoozi, we are also aware that Mr. Museveni, like all human beings, is deteriorating both physically and mentally. It's natural. We can't blame anybody for that. At our home in Wachiso, Namusera there, my father always waits for me to advise him on what to do for the family. But a family is different from a country. The country has advisors who are paid, but Mr. Museveni is not utilizing them. So Mr. Muhoozi, in that capacity, abusing Ugandans and taking us for granted, that he starts tweeting, exposing his delinquency, threatening Ugandans, not any other ordinary Ugandan like Nambooze, but a people's candidate, presidential candidate, who is going to run the office. Mr. Muhoozi and friends are trying to impose on Mr. Museveni. They fear what might happen to them after Museveni's presidency. That is why They are imposing him on this country. They fear to face the law. They fear to face competition. They fear to lose riches. They fear to hand back power to Ugandans and account for the 35 years Mr. Museveni has been in power. One, I talked to Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, and he told me that if Muhoozi thinks that when he tweets, when he makes those careless, wisdomless tweets, that Honorable Kyagulanyi will be intimidated. He sends him information that he is not intimidated. Mr. Muhoozi, I want to assure you, you will be one of those Ugandans who will be pardoned. We shall allow you to say sorry to Ugandans. We appreciate that you have been young just yesterday and you were exploited by a father who doesn't care about anybody, including his own children. A man who has failed to win off his children. Okubajja ku mabere. You see, even cocks are better at that. Akakoko wekalemera wali awali mama wako ba segwanga. Bakabojja genda. We don't fear to face Mr. Muhoozi as a competitor. We don't. We also acknowledge that he has a right, like all of us Ugandans, to stand for office. We don't know even why he keeps on posing as if he's an army man, when the fact of the matter is that he's not. He's an LODU. He was recruited when some of us were old enough, first of all, to get to know what was taking place. And like a brother Nambooze has told you, that we don't have the black book today, but we believe that we cannot be betrayed by our own memory. You are an LODU, Muhoozi. We know that deceitfully, with the deception, you have been decorated a UPDF general. We will lose those titles as soon as we take office. And we shall recommend you and press you under rehabilitation, you together with other people. You see, in Uganda we have some people who pose around as lords. When they are moving around, you can mistake them for being lords. Today we appreciate that Mr. Museveni is no more. We have another example of what happened in Malawi. In Malawi, a president lost his mental abilities. But he had a secretary, Mama Kazamira, who would get out, change government, appoint, disappoint people. It was after Uganda was taken out of power that the country got to know that Banange, do you know what? All along we have been dealing with Mama Kazamira. The president has no mental capacity to keep in that office. I'm not saying that Mr. Museveni has deteriorated to that level, but I believe he's on the way. I said this with great knowledge because Mr. Museveni is as old as my father. And let me tell you, my father was a very clever man. But these days, he's a baby. At times I get telephone calls in Mukono. Nambooze, Jango Ogambe, Otwale Daddy Mudwali, Aganyo Akomeredde Dagala, Young Wako. So my father at times refuses to take his medicine. He refers most of the very important decisions to me. Equally, Mr. Museveni is going through the same. You see, but for me, my father and I are doing this to our one family. But imagine a person who does not want to take medicine anymore being your president. There is that period when we live the opposite of our true self. What we were when we are still young. That period comes to every person who grows old. There are people like me who doesn't fear to say that I'm 51 years. Just because I have accountability for every year I've lived. But Mr. Museveni cannot get out to tell his exact age because he does not have accountability for some of the years he has lived. But for us who know, especially we women, we have the capacity to look at somebody's nose, eyes, and then tell how old you are. Aren't you 26? You are 26 years. You young lady. She's 26 years. I'm talking as a mother. In the same, using the same expertise. I know for sure, and many Ugandans know that Mr. Museveni is 80 years. So, winding up, I'm here to tell Mr. Muhoozi that first of all, we who know him as a person who has grown up surrounded by plenty, who has gone to the best schools, we didn't believe that he's one man who can be so unwise, so unsophisticated to make such careless tweets. Nze nasooka neŋŋaana nga ngamba bamuwaayiriza. Kati bwe nategedde nti kituufu, I feel so sorry that a young man in whom Ugandans have invested a lot can turn out with such unbalanced mental display. Aswadde. Yesu aziza. He's beyond that. Muhoozi can do better. Muhoozi, you are capable of doing better. If you are an army man, that you turned from the LODU, keep quiet like what other army men should do. If you want to be a politician like us, retire from the army, get out of your father's custody, and behave like a grown-up man of 50 years. Muhoozi, you are 50. Basabo ne banyabo, ndi wano ku lwange nga memba atalina kifo kyonna kya bukulembeze mu NUP, era nyumirwa ennyo eddaala lyange eryo. Kubanga it is high time naffe abamu batukulembereko. Not so? It's high time naffe abamu batukole ki? Batukulembereko. Kale nyimiridde wano nga memba wa bulijjo. Waliwo abantu abangamba nti wakagenda mu NUP ne mbagamba muyiga okumanya ebintu. Nze omu ku bammemba ba NUP abagundiivu. Omu ku bakadde abagiruddemu ennyo. Kubanga olunaku lwe basooka ofulumya kaadi wano, nze we nafuna eyange. So nyimiridde wano mu kiti ekyo ekya memba atalina nnyo buvunaanyizibwa okuggyako in the interim ayambako mwami vice president wa Buganda okutwala ziri districts eziri mu Eastern Buganda, Mukono, Kayunga, Buyikwe and Buvuma, okutumira mwannyinaze gwensingako omwaka gumu gwokka mu nsi muno Muhoozi, nze ndi 5 mu gumu yali 5, okumugamba nti akomye mangu okweteeka mu butaala n'agenda n'akemebwa okubaawo kwa social media n'atandika okuweereza obubaka obutiisatiisa obuvoola era obulengeza bannayuganda omu ku bo Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu akikomye. Tumanyi Muhoozi ng'Owero DU waffe eyalondebwa abeero C1 Entebbe agenda asoma Owero DU asobole okuddayo kuuma ekyalo. Era oyo Owero DU waffe tulina ennaku nnyingi nti ekifo ky'okumutendeka ne tumuddizaayo bakama be Chairman Owero C1 ne Secretary for Defense ab'Entebbe wali ewaabwe mu Kitoolo. Mwami Museveni yayita mu mugenzi Gaddafi n'ajja amutikkira obwa mmeeja. Ekyo kikolwa kyali kyakusala nsawo. Teriyo Owero DU mulala gwe twali tuwulidde ng'afuuse jjeno w'amagye. Kyova olaba ng'ekimu ku bintu bye tujja okukola nga twakatwala obuyinza kwe kuwonya Muhoozi tumuggyeko ebyo ebitiibwa ebya genero bye bamukakaatikako. Twagala era kusaba Mwami Museveni ayiga okuggya abaana be ku mabeere. Abaana bwe bakula baba bakuze. Mwami Muhoozi musajja mukulu ddala. Singa yayanguwa okuzaala nga Kyagulanyi kati alina omwana ali okumpi okuwasa. Yes, ati 50 osobola okuba n'omwana ow'emyaka 25. Not so. Kati tumugamba ebintu ebyo byalimu abiveemu. Taddamu okuweereza obubaka, taddamu kukemebwa, kusosonkereza bannayuganda. Alina ebyokulabirako ebimala. Amanyi baganda be abaana ba Gaddafi bye bayitamu. Amanyi baganda be abaana ba Saddam Hussein bye bayitamu. Amanyi baganda be Kapiteeni Kongolo omwana wa Mobutu bamuziika ayimiridde. Nono oli kitaawe yamukomya ku bwa kapiteeni. Naye n'atandika okulowooza nti naye president mu bwangu ddala bannayuganda bonna abaagala enkyukakyuka ne ba activist ffenna tulina okukolera awamu tununule Mwami Museveni okuva mu mikono gy'abantu abamuwambye. Abantu abo mulimu bamafiya, mulimu abalwaninga bizinesi z'aba mafias. Waliwo omusajja omu gwe nabadde nsomako nga nfuna obujulizi, simanyi bamuyita Muhammad Alibai, ng'alina ebyapa by'ettaka 700 mu Kampala. Kati omuntu alina ebyapa by'ettaka 700 mu Kampala tayagala Museveni aveeko kuba amanyi bannayuganda abaddako bagenda mugamba nti ettaka lino walijjawa. Abo abantu abasibye Mwami Museveni mu buyinza abamukozesa okunyagulula eggwanga lyaffe, Mwami Museveni wamma totya, tujja okukununula mikono gy'abakuwamba. Twagala President Museveni agenda awummuleko Lwakitula. Tuteeseteese okussawo akakiiko k'okutabagana n'okwogera amazima eri bannayuganda, era nga tumanyi nti abantu abali mu famire ya Mwami Museveni, abantu abamu abafunye obugagga mu ngeri ey'amankyolo, n'abantu abalala abalowooza nti baliko ebikolobero bye bakoze nga batya Museveni ova mu buyinza, akakiiko ako ke bajja okweyamba okwetondera bannayuganda n'okusonyiyibwa. N'olwekyo twagala batuwe eddembe lyaffe. Ekisembayo Muhoozi oli musajja mukulu, ate toli wa magye, oli Owero DU, oli wa ddembe, olina eddembe ly'obuzaaliranwa, ddembe lyo okuvaayo ne weesimbawo ku kifo kyonna mu ggwanga nga otwaliddemu n'ekyakitaawo kyalemeddemu ekyobwa pulezidenti. Era ffe tetugenda kunyiiga wadde okutya okubeera mu kalulu konna nga Mwami Muhoozi oba asimbiddwawo NRM ng'asaba obwa pulezidenti bwaki. Tumulinze mu butuufu. Olwaleero mbadde njogeramu ne Honorable Kyagulanyi n'agamba nti yeesunga okulaba ku mazima agasaanidde ng'avuganya ne mwami Muhoozi nga Muhoozi asaba bwa pulezidenti nga ne Kyagulanyi asaba bwaki bwa pulezidenti. Naye bye by'okulowooza nti ojja kwesiba ku kirenge kya kitaawo. Ate oddeeyo gye weesibidde ku kirenge kya kitaawo emmanju ku boys quarter ku State House. Ate otandike okutinkuula entalo ku bannayuganda n'okkuba olwogolo. Ekyo tetujja kukikkiriza Muhoozi. Nsembayo nga ntegeeza bannayuganda nti akalulu ko tekaliyo kali folosi. Mr. Byabakama is organizing a follow election. But we are going to show him that we have capacity to turn a follow election into a liberation tool and do exactly the same thing to this chair. 7. Okumujjako entebe. Mwebale nnyo.